Hello again, my friends. Um, I am on a different computer today. I got a new Mac, and I hope that the, this video photo booth works lots better on here so that when I post it, you won't have that stop and go kind of thing. And my voice will just come through a whole lot better than it has till now. So I hope so, okay? Because I want everything to be clear and good for you. Couple of things. Um, Again, overall, you're doing a good job. Each of you is doing a good job, okay? There's no way to say I'm disappointed in the work overall of any of you. However, um, I was a little let down with the lack of, I don't know, exploration or depth or something um, that you showed in setting because I tried to make clear to you that setting includes so many things. Um, you know, not just place, not just time of year, but the era that something is set in, the season that something is set in. Um, oh, what else did I include in there? The weather, okay. Um, all of the factors that that can be a part of setting because where you are now right now um, you know a month ago in that exact same place might well have been very different so that setting is different now than it was a month ago, okay. Well, and to build a fire, um, lots of you just didn't take into account the time period as part of setting. Okay? Let's face it, if that story were set today, okay, that guy wouldn't have died there. He would have had his SUV or four-wheel drive pickup truck or whatever, first of all. Okay? Secondly, if he did run into trouble, he would have had some kind of a way of communication. More than likely a cell phone, although maybe out in Yukon territory there's not really cell phones, but walkie talkies or that kind of thing, or the kind of things that bounce off sky satellites when you're traveling there. In today's world, we have all that stuff, so you know that's part of setting too, and that got overlooked by a lot of you. But some of you just kind of took setting pretty lightly, and so going forward, get back to where you were because you've all been doing such really solid A work that I don't want to see anybody slip away from that. Okay? Good. So far, so good. Okay. Now, um, this week we want to talk about the concept of theme. Okay? Theme. And I'm going to ask you your video question right now so I don't forget to ask you later. Yeah, I can see I really need a haircut, don't I? Wow. You can see it flipping up in the back. My wife's been after me. Yeah, life is busy. But by the next time you see me on here, I'll have had a haircut. My wife will make certain of that. Will I make certain? No, but my wife will, and that's all that really counts. So anyway, okay. So here's our video question for this week. For what we're going to talk about, will each of you find the theme to be the same? Okay, that's a big question for you. So again, email me your answer to that. Will each of you find the theme of this week's readings to be the same? Okay, so now, what's theme? Well, theme is kind of multifaceted also. We talked about setting being multifaceted. So is theme, and by multifaceted, most of you ladies are probably tuned into the sparkle in a diamond ring, and all of those cuts are considered facets. Each one is a separate little part that makes up the whole ring. Okay, so multifaceted means there are a lot of parts to all of this. Okay, there are a lot of parts to theme. So Theme includes character development. Thing, theme, I'm sorry, theme includes plot development. Plot and theme are not the same. Plot is part of theme, but again, plot is the series of actions that help make up the story. So plot is part of theme. Character development is part of theme. Setting is part of theme. Irony is part of theme. Everything we've talked about so far, plus some things that we'll talk about a little further down the road, are all parts of theme. Okay? Theme is, in a very simplified way, the meaning of the story. It's maybe what the author had in mind to tell you in the story. So meaning, or why the story was written. Okay. Now, theme cannot be expressed in a single word or even in a single sentence. Theme is a compilation of a whole lot of things trying to be brought together so that the author can try to cause you to see things in a certain way or to think in a certain way. Okay? Are we all going to think the same way? Are we all going to think the theme is the same? Well, no, because what April has encountered is going to be different from what Hala has encountered, is going to be different from what Ashley has encountered all through life, okay? And Jesse's life may well have been entirely different from everybody else's. You know, when I sent you the email or text a couple of weeks ago about what might we be able to get together for a Zoom session, some of you pointed out all the things that you have going on in your life, and so it was very likely it was impossible to do that. So our lives are all so different, and so too are the ways that we think, because our lives are so different, and the things in our background are so different, which govern the way we think. Okay, so all of these things vary person to person to person, and so what we see in a theme is not going to be the same as what somebody else is going to see in the theme. Very possibly. It may be the same. It doesn't have to be different. Sometimes theme is rolled out maybe pretty clearly, although one of the things we've been doing in this course is to try to get you to look a little deeper into pretty much everything, so that what the theme comes out with. When somebody stops and thinks about theme, they may get down to a level of depth that somebody else finds too, and that's okay. So your thoughts may be similar, but they may be very different. Okay, so if you didn't know the answer to the video question, you do now for sure. Okay, so theme involves all of these things, and again, it's not something that is simple, straightforward. If we look at To Build the Fire, okay, we just read that last week. For somebody, it might be that as an individual, we really can't go against the forces of nature. And a couple of you really singled out the forces of nature, the extreme cold, whatever you want to term all of that our traveler was doing in To Build a Fire. Some of you showed that as another character. It's like our main character was going against this other character, protagonist, antagonist, okay? And so you saw those forces of nature as a character, okay? So for some of you, the theme might well have been that if mankind tries to go against the forces of nature, he's going to lose every time. Nature is so big that mankind cannot win against nature. And so those things might have helped you put together a kind of theme, okay? Some of you may have put together the idea that the arrogance of somebody trying to make a journey like this on his own with only a dog is stupid, and that he will probably pay for it when the time comes. Okay, um, our main character did pay for it when the time came. So the theme, brings all of those things together. So theme is not a simple thing. Theme brings together all of these things. Now, um, if Jack London were still alive today, would he be able to tell you what the theme was in his head when he wrote the story? Very possibly not. Here's the case for theme that helps you understand even better how our experiences cause us to see theme differently. I can't remember which writer it was, and I may have said this to you earlier in the semester, but one of the great American writers was asked what he meant when he wrote a story, and we are equating theme with meaning and message of a story, okay? And his response was, when I wrote the story, two people knew what it meant. Two meaning the writer and God. He said, now only one does, meaning he's not sure anymore what he really meant. God still knows, of course, because God knows everything, but he's not so sure. So, okay, so therefore, theme is meaning, message, and all of those things that we've talked about so far. Point of view, narration, setting, plot, character development, irony, all of those things go to help give the story its meaning, give the story its message. And again, this isn't something that you can hone down to a single word, that you can hone down to a single sentence. It is not. It is something that is complex in every single story. In this week's story, we are going to see why the whole Black Lives Matter movement has become so strong, because we're going to see a young black man who was a class valedictorian but is terribly abused by the most important characters in his town because he was black. Okay, so I hope this story doesn't offend anybody. Rather, I hope it helps everybody come to a better understanding that, in fact, there was so much brutal mistreatment racially of all races. I mean, even within just the Caucasian race, there were ethnic problems. Irishmen were treated terribly for the first 50 years they were here. When I grew up in Buffalo, Polish jokes were the rage. Everybody told Polish jokes all the time, trying to make Polish people seem dumb. Italian kinds of things, were that was a racial kind of thing for a long time, and you could go on and on and on. We still have some in our society today, because we have things like Scottish people are very cheap. Okay, it's an ethnic stereotype. Obviously, there is no truth to ethnic stereotypes, but or German people are so staunch, and don't ever argue with a German because you can't win. That's like saying they don't have the power to reason. So obviously, that's a terrible stereotype. Okay, well, in this story we're going to see some objectionable behavior toward an African American, and it makes it even clearer to all of us why our society still needs to change. It's changed a lot from those days, but it still needs more and more and more change. So please don't be offended by what you find in the story. Just realize that the story isn't set today. It's set quite a while ago, when our world hadn't progressed as much as it still needs to, as much as it has, but it still needs to progress. That's not in that story. Okay, so don't let the story offend you. Realize that it's a reflection of a slice of time a good while ago that would no longer fit into today's world. Okay, so you guys are doing great. You know where to get me. And this thing went through without stopping. So therefore, the new computer is going to be a good thing, I think. Stay safe and contact me if you need to.